My boss fired me for lacking creativity after I designed their best-selling products. But then I fought back. I still remember the exact moment when my world turned upside down, sitting in that sterile conference room with its beige walls and fluorescent lights that buzzed like angry bees. Across the table sat Mr. Thompson, my boss of 3 years, flanked by 2 members of human resources whose sympathetic smiles couldn't mask their discomfort. The irony was almost laughable. They were firing me for lacking creativity, the very quality that had driven our company's success these past few years. It all started back in design school, where I spent countless nights perfecting my craft, pouring my heart into every project while others partied or slept. My professors often said I had a unique way of seeing the world, transforming ordinary objects into extraordinary experiences. That's why, when Greenleaf Innovations offered me a position as their junior product designer, I felt like I'd won the lottery. Here was my chance to make a real impact in the sustainable product industry. The first year was challenging but exhilarating. I threw myself into work, sketching ideas during lunch breaks and dreaming up concepts in the shower. My big break came when we were struggling to redesign our flagship line of eco-friendly water bottles. While everyone else chased trends and flashy features, I focused on what mattered most to users, functionality combined with subtle elegance. The result was a sleek, ergonomic bottle that not only kept drinks cold for hours, but also featured a cleverly integrated plant-based filtration system. That design became our bestseller, generating millions in revenue and earning us numerous industry awards. But instead of celebrating, Mr. Thompson took all the credit during press conferences, positioning himself as the visionary behind the product. I didn't mind at first. After all, I was just happy to see my creation making a difference. So I kept designing, pouring my soul into each new project. The bamboo kitchenware set that reduced plastic waste by 40%? Mine. The innovative foldable shopping bags that revolutionized reusable packaging? Also mine. Each product I created seemed to strike a chord with consumers, yet somehow my contributions remained invisible to management. They praised the sales figures but dismissed my input during meetings, claiming my ideas were too basic or lacking innovation. Every morning, I would arrive at the office before sunrise, watching the city wake up from my window while sketching new concepts. I lived for those moments when a spark of inspiration would hit me, like the time I watched raindrops slide down a leaf and realized we could mimic that natural pattern to improve our drinkware's grip. These breakthroughs weren't accidents. They came from years of dedication and an ability to find beauty in everyday moments. But no matter how successful my designs proved to be, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was fighting an uphill battle. During team meetings, my suggestions were often met with skeptical glances or outright dismissal. "Where's the wow factor?" they'd ask, despite market research showing customers preferred practical solutions over flashy gimmicks. It was as if they wanted me to create products that looked good in presentations, rather than ones that actually worked well in people's lives. Looking back, I can see how the tension built gradually. There were the backhanded compliments from colleagues who claimed they could have thought of that too, and the growing stack of unsigned bonus requests gathering dust on Mr. Thompson's desk. Yet nothing prepared me for that fateful meeting, where years of unrecognized effort culminated in a single devastating sentence: "We need someone more creative, someone who can think outside the box." As I gathered my belongings that afternoon, memories flooded back of late nights spent perfecting details no one else noticed, of customer testimonials praising how our products made their lives easier, of children excitedly showing off their favorite water bottles at school. All those moments, all that passion, dismissed with a few careless words. Standing in the elevator, resignation letter burning in my pocket, I made a silent promise to myself: this wasn't the end of my story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where I would fight back on my own terms. The weeks following my termination were a blur of conflicting emotions, each day bringing a new wave of challenges that tested my resolve. At first, the shock manifested physically, sleepless nights punctuated by sudden awakenings, my heart racing as reality crashed over me anew. I found myself staring at the ceiling, replaying Mr. Thompson's words in my mind, trying to understand how someone could so thoroughly misunderstand the essence of creativity. The irony was bitter. I had spent years crafting solutions that seamlessly integrated into people's lives, only to be told my work lacked imagination. Financial pressure quickly became my constant companion. Without warning, I had lost not just my job but also my health insurance and the stability of a regular paycheck. Bills piled up faster than I could address them, each envelope bearing a crimson stamp reminding me of my precarious situation. I began liquidating non-essential possessions, first designer clothes, then furniture, until my apartment resembled a minimalist installation more than a home. Friends offered help, but pride and shame formed an impenetrable barrier, preventing me from accepting anything more than emotional support. The professional rejection cut deeper than I cared to admit. In an industry where reputation is currency, being fired for lacking creativity felt like having a scarlet letter branded onto my resume. Networking events became minefields of awkward encounters, where former colleagues either avoided eye contact or offered patronizing condolences. Job applications disappeared into digital voids, responses ranging from polite rejections to deafening silence. Each rejection letter felt like another nail in the coffin of my career, reinforcing the doubt that had taken root in my mind. Yet amidst this turmoil, something unexpected began to stir within me. Like a phoenix rising from ashes, anger slowly transformed into determination. I remembered the countless times customers had written to praise how our products improved their daily routines. I recalled the satisfaction of solving real-world problems through thoughtful design rather than chasing fleeting trends. These memories became fuel for my resolve, pushing me to prove that true creativity lies not in showmanship but in substance. I started small, setting up a makeshift studio in my now Spartan living room. Late nights became my sanctuary, the quiet hours allowing me to reconnect with the pure joy of creation. Without corporate constraints, I experimented freely, exploring ideas that had been deemed too radical or not marketable by Greenleaf's conservative leadership. I documented every step of my process, building a portfolio that showcased not just finished products but the intricate journey of problem-solving and innovation behind each piece. Social media became both a lifeline and a platform. At first hesitant, I began sharing glimpses of my work in progress, accompanied by stories about the design challenges and breakthroughs. To my surprise, people responded enthusiastically, engaging with posts about the importance of functional beauty and sustainable innovation. Followers grew from dozens to hundreds, then thousands, as my authentic voice resonated with others who valued meaningful design over superficial flash. This growing community provided more than just encouragement. It opened doors to freelance opportunities and collaborations with other independent designers. Each project, no matter how small, helped rebuild my confidence and financial stability. More importantly, these experiences reaffirmed my belief that there was a market hungry for thoughtful, practical design, a market that Greenleaf had failed to recognize. As months passed, I noticed a shift in my perspective. What had initially felt like a devastating setback revealed itself as a blessing in disguise. Free from corporate politics, I could finally focus on what truly mattered, creating products that made a difference in people's lives. The struggle had stripped away fear and self-doubt, leaving behind a clarity of purpose that burned brighter with each passing day. In quiet moments, I allowed myself to imagine the future, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a pioneer charting her own course. The seed of an idea began to take root, one that would challenge everything Greenleaf stood for and prove that true creativity isn't measured by flashy presentations or empty promises, but by the positive impact it creates in the world. This realization ignited a fire within me, driving me to build something greater than I had ever imagined possible. With renewed determination, I threw myself into developing a groundbreaking concept that would redefine sustainable design. Drawing from years of experience and the insights gained during my period of reinvention, I envisioned a modular home organization system that combined aesthetic appeal with unprecedented functionality. Unlike anything currently on the market, this system would adapt to users' changing needs while maintaining a commitment to environmental responsibility. The core idea came to me one evening while watching a friend struggle to rearrange her entire living space due to a minor lifestyle change. Why shouldn't home organization evolve as fluidly as life itself? The initial sketches consumed me completely. I worked tirelessly in my home studio, experimenting with materials that balanced durability with sustainability. Recycled aluminum alloys formed the structural framework, while panels crafted from compressed agricultural waste provided customizable surfaces. The real innovation lay in the magnetic connection system I developed, a simple yet revolutionary mechanism that allowed components to snap together in infinite configurations without tools or permanent alterations. Each piece could transform from a bookshelf to a workstation to a vertical garden with minimal effort, addressing multiple needs through smart design rather than excessive production. Customer feedback became my guiding star throughout the development process. Through social media polls and local focus groups, I engaged directly with potential users, refining every detail based on their real-world experiences. A working mother suggested incorporating hidden charging stations for devices, a college student proposed color-coded organizational inserts for better visibility. These interactions transformed my project from a personal vision into a collective creation, strengthening my conviction that true creativity emerges from understanding and responding to genuine human needs. The technical challenges were formidable but invigorating. I spent countless hours researching manufacturing processes that could produce complex components while maintaining environmental integrity. Collaborating with material scientists and engineers, I developed a proprietary coating that enhanced durability while remaining biodegradable. Each breakthrough brought new obstacles. The magnetic system required precise calibration to prevent interference with electronic devices, while the recycled materials demanded innovative treatment methods to ensure consistency. Yet with each solution, the product grew stronger, more refined, and increasingly aligned with my original vision. Perhaps the most significant aspect of this project was its scalability. Unlike traditional furniture lines that required complete replacement for upgrades or changes, my system encouraged gradual evolution. Users could start with a basic configuration and expand incrementally, reducing both financial burden and environmental impact. This approach particularly resonated with younger consumers who valued flexibility and customization in their living spaces. Market research showed overwhelming interest among urban professionals and families seeking adaptable solutions for small spaces. As prototypes took shape, I documented every stage of development, creating a comprehensive narrative that highlighted not just the final product but the thoughtful process behind it. This transparency proved crucial when approaching potential investors and partners. Rather than presenting a finished item, I shared a philosophy of design that emphasized longevity, adaptability, and environmental consciousness. Industry veterans who had witnessed the rise of disposable furniture trends expressed particular enthusiasm for this approach, recognizing its potential to disrupt established markets. The project's scope expanded beyond mere product design into a broader movement advocating for conscious consumerism. I began collaborating with environmental organizations and educational institutions, using the development process as a case study in sustainable innovation. Workshops and seminars attracted diverse audiences, from design students to seasoned professionals, all eager to learn about integrating ecological considerations with commercial viability. These interactions not only validated my approach but also created a network of supporters invested in the project's success. As the launch date approached, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. What had started as a personal mission to prove my capabilities had evolved into something far greater, a testament to the power of authentic creativity and the importance of staying true to one's vision. The modular system wasn't just a collection of innovative pieces. It represented a fundamental shift in how people interacted with their living spaces and, by extension, with the environment itself. The day of the product launch arrived with a mixture of excitement and anxiety that left me breathless. Standing in the converted warehouse space we had transformed into an interactive showroom, I watched as guests filed in, industry insiders, journalists, potential investors, and curious consumers who had followed my journey online. The air buzzed with anticipation as spotlights illuminated the various configurations of the modular system, each station demonstrating different aspects of its functionality. Media coverage exceeded my wildest expectations. Tech blogs praised the magnetic connection system as the most significant advancement in modular furniture since IKEA's flat-pack revolution. Environmental publications highlighted our use of agricultural waste materials, calling it a masterclass in circular economy design. But it was the mainstream outlets that truly surprised me. Lifestyle magazines featured the system in their best of lists, while home improvement shows invited me to demonstrate its versatility on national television. Within days, our website crashed from the influx of visitors, and I had to scramble to set up additional servers to handle the traffic. Industry response was equally dramatic, though not entirely positive. Established furniture manufacturers began hastily announcing their own modular initiatives, clearly attempting to capitalize on the trend we had created. Some competitors resorted to underhanded tactics, spreading misinformation about the system's durability, questioning the safety of our magnetic technology, even attempting to poach key members of my development team. Yet these attacks only served to strengthen our position, as loyal customers rallied to defend the product's merits and authenticity. Most remarkable was the grassroots movement that emerged around the brand. Social media exploded with user-generated content showcasing creative configurations and novel applications we hadn't anticipated. College students demonstrated how the system could transform dorm rooms into multifunctional spaces, while remote workers shared elaborate home office setups. DIY enthusiasts posted video tutorials on custom modifications, effectively turning the product into a platform for community-driven innovation. This organic engagement proved invaluable, generating authentic marketing content that resonated deeply with potential customers. Sales figures reflected this enthusiasm, with pre-orders surpassing projections by 300% within the first month. Retail partners clamored for inventory, and we had to rapidly scale up production to meet demand. Investors who had previously dismissed the concept as too niche suddenly appeared at our door, offering substantial funding to accelerate growth. International distributors reached out, interested in bringing the system to markets where space optimization and sustainability were becoming critical concerns. However, success brought its own set of challenges. Scaling production while maintaining quality standards proved difficult, especially with suppliers unaccustomed to our stringent environmental requirements. We faced supply chain disruptions when certain materials became temporarily unavailable due to increased demand from copycat products. Customer service teams struggled to keep up with inquiries about customization options and installation support. Each challenge required careful navigation to preserve the integrity of the brand and maintain customer trust. The most satisfying aspect of the launch was watching how the product genuinely improved people's lives. Heartfelt testimonials poured in from users who had transformed cramped apartments into functional homes, from families who could now easily adapt their living spaces to accommodate growing children, from elderly customers who appreciated the system's ease of modification. These stories reinforced my belief in the power of thoughtful design to create meaningful change. As momentum built, I found myself fielding invitations to speak at industry conferences and innovation summits. Each presentation became an opportunity to share not just the technical aspects of the product but the philosophy behind its creation. Young designers approached me after talks, inspired by the possibility of building successful careers while staying true to their values. Seasoned professionals admitted that my approach had challenged their assumptions about what constituted commercially viable design. The market disruption we had created rippled through the industry, forcing competitors to reconsider their strategies. Traditional furniture companies began investing in sustainable materials and modular designs, while tech firms explored partnerships to integrate smart home features with adaptable furniture systems. Even universities revised their design curricula to include courses on sustainable innovation and user-centric development processes. Our success had sparked a conversation about the future of product design that extended far beyond our specific market segment. Greenleaf Innovations, once my former employer, found themselves caught in this wave of change. Their sales figures for conventional products began to decline as consumers gravitated toward more innovative, sustainable solutions. Industry analysts publicly questioned their ability to adapt to the shifting market landscape, noting how their rigid corporate structure stifled creativity and responsiveness. Former colleagues reached out, some seeking advice on how to implement similar initiatives, others expressing regret for not supporting my ideas when I had worked there. The validation from peers and industry experts was gratifying, but more meaningful was the sense of purpose that came from proving that true creativity could thrive outside traditional corporate structures. Each new milestone, whether it was securing a major retail partnership or receiving an innovation award, served as a reminder of how far we had come. The journey had transformed not just my career but my understanding of what was possible when authenticity and innovation converged. As news of my success spread through the design community, an unexpected opportunity emerged that would force me to confront my past head-on. Greenleaf Innovations announced their annual Innovation Summit, a high-profile event where they traditionally unveiled their latest product lines and strategic direction. This year, however, the agenda included something unprecedented, a panel discussion titled Redefining Creativity in Product Design, featuring several industry leaders, including myself. The invitation arrived via courier, elegantly printed on heavy cardstock, but it was the postscript handwritten by Mr. Thompson himself that caught my attention. Your perspective would add valuable insight to our conversation. The irony was palpable. The same man who had dismissed my work as unimaginative now sought to showcase it as a model of innovation. As I held the invitation, memories of those tense boardroom meetings flooded back, the condescending smiles when I presented concepts that later became bestsellers, the casual appropriation of my ideas during strategy sessions. Yet alongside the bitterness rose a more compelling emotion, an opportunity to reclaim my narrative on a stage where it mattered most. Preparations for the summit became an exercise in strategic storytelling. I assembled a presentation that wove together the journey of my modular system with broader themes of authentic creativity and user-centered design. Each slide featured not just the finished product but the struggles and breakthroughs behind its development. I included testimonials from customers whose lives had been transformed by the system, data illustrating its environmental impact, and footage of community-driven innovations that had emerged organically from its use. Most significantly, I prepared a detailed analysis of how rigid corporate hierarchies often stifle genuine creativity, using anonymized examples from my time at Greenleaf. The night before the summit, I received an unexpected visitor at my hotel, Sarah Chin, Greenleaf's current chief design officer and a former colleague. Her presence in my room, unannounced and visibly nervous, suggested she carried more than just casual pleasantries. Over herbal tea, she confessed that Greenleaf's recent quarterly reports had shown alarming declines in both market share and employee morale. Their attempts to replicate the success of my modular system had resulted in costly failures, while internal surveys revealed widespread dissatisfaction among designers frustrated by continued micromanagement and lack of creative freedom. Sarah's visit wasn't merely social. She carried a proposal that would test every ounce of my resolve. Greenleaf wanted to acquire my company, not just for the product line but for the design philosophy and leadership approach that had driven its success. The offer included a seat on their executive board and full autonomy over a newly established innovation division. As she outlined the terms, I recognized the subtext. They weren't just buying a successful product, they were desperate for the creative culture that had eluded them for years. The implications of this proposition churned in my mind long after Sarah had left. Accepting would mean returning to the very environment that had dismissed my talents, but with unprecedented power to effect change. It would provide resources to scale my vision globally, while potentially transforming Greenleaf's entrenched corporate culture. Yet the risk of becoming absorbed by the same system that had rejected me was substantial. Memories of late-night battles against short-sighted decisions and the sting of unwarranted criticism warred with the prospect of leading meaningful reform from within. Research into Greenleaf's current state revealed cracks beneath their polished exterior. Employee turnover in the design department had doubled since my departure, while customer satisfaction ratings for their newer products had plummeted. Industry analysts had begun openly questioning their ability to remain competitive in an increasingly innovation-driven market. These vulnerabilities presented both opportunity and danger, the chance to reshape an industry giant, but also the risk of being consumed by its dysfunctional machinery. Strategic planning sessions with my team yielded mixed perspectives. Some argued that acquiring Greenleaf's resources could exponentially increase our impact, while others warned against compromising the independence that had fueled our success. We debated potential scenarios, maintaining operational autonomy while integrating with their distribution network, implementing mentorship programs to foster emerging talent within their ranks, or even restructuring their hierarchical decision-making processes. Each option carried significant risks, from cultural clashes to potential dilution of our core values. As the summit approached, I found myself preparing not just for a presentation but for a potential transformation of the entire industry landscape. The invitation to speak had evolved into something far more complex, a chance to either validate Greenleaf's outdated notions of creativity or demonstrate conclusively that true innovation thrives in environments that nurture authenticity and purpose. The decision I would make in the coming days would affect not just my future, but potentially the trajectory of sustainable design for years to come. The morning of the Innovation Summit dawned clear and bright, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows as industry leaders gathered in Greenleaf's state-of-the-art conference center. I stood backstage, reviewing my notes while listening to the murmur of anticipation from the audience. The energy was electric, charged with the kind of excitement that precedes significant change. When my name was announced, I stepped onto the stage to thunderous applause, a stark contrast to the dismissive glances I had received in this very venue years ago. As I began my presentation, I noticed Mr. Thompson seated in the front row, his expression unreadable. Behind him sat Sarah Chun, nodding encouragingly, while rows of familiar faces watched intently, former colleagues, industry veterans, and young designers whose eyes shone with hope. With each slide, I methodically dismantled the myth of creativity as mere spectacle, presenting data and case studies that demonstrated how authentic innovation emerges from deep understanding of user needs and environmental responsibility. The audience responded with increasing enthusiasm, their engagement evident in the flood of questions during the Q&A session. During the panel discussion that followed, the conversation took an unexpected turn. A young designer from Greenleaf's junior team raised a question about overcoming institutional resistance to change, sparking a heated debate about corporate culture and creativity. Panelists from competing firms shared their own struggles with innovation-stifling hierarchies, while venture capitalists discussed the challenges of funding authentic design in a market obsessed with quick returns. The discussion revealed a shared frustration across the industry, a collective recognition that traditional models of corporate creativity were failing. Amidst this exchange, Mr. Thompson made a surprising intervention. He acknowledged Greenleaf's recent struggles, admitting that their attempts to replicate external successes had fallen short because they had failed to understand the underlying principles of sustainable innovation. His words carried weight, not just as a confession of failure, but as an implicit endorsement of the very approach he had once dismissed. The room fell silent as he announced the formation of a special task force dedicated to transforming Greenleaf's design culture, inviting participants from across the industry to contribute to this effort. The atmosphere shifted noticeably after this announcement. Informal discussions erupted throughout the venue, with attendees forming impromptu working groups to brainstorm solutions. Young designers approached established leaders with fresh ideas, while executives exchanged contact information with innovators they had previously overlooked. The summit had transformed from a showcase of individual achievements into a collaborative movement for industry-wide change. As the event drew to a close, Sarah Chen joined me in the green room, her face flushed with excitement. She revealed that Greenleaf's board had already approved preliminary steps toward restructuring their design division, including establishing an innovation incubator modeled after my company's development process. More surprisingly, Mr. Thompson had requested a private meeting to discuss potential collaboration beyond the initial acquisition offer. The industry giants who had once viewed my work with skepticism now approached me with proposals for partnership and knowledge-sharing initiatives. The day's events had created ripples that extended far beyond Greenleaf's headquarters. Major design schools announced plans to incorporate our methodology into their curricula, while sustainability-focused investment funds expressed interest in supporting similar ventures. Journalists covering the summit spoke of a creativity renaissance in product design, highlighting how authentic innovation was finally being recognized as a driver of both commercial success and positive social impact. Social media buzzed with reactions from professionals worldwide, many sharing stories of their own struggles against restrictive corporate cultures. Yet as I reviewed the day's developments, I recognized that this was merely the beginning of a larger transformation. The challenges facing the industry ran deep, rooted in decades-old assumptions about creativity and business success. True change would require sustained effort, strategic alliances, and perhaps most importantly, a willingness to embrace vulnerability and uncertainty. The road ahead promised to be complex and demanding, filled with opportunities to redefine not just Greenleaf's future but the very foundations of sustainable design innovation. Standing at this crossroads, I felt the weight of responsibility mingled with the thrill of possibility. The decision before me wasn't just about accepting or rejecting an acquisition offer, it was about determining how best to leverage this moment to create lasting impact. Each path forward carried its own risks and rewards, its own potential to shape the future of an industry at a critical juncture in its evolution.